Resigned as Bihar's chief minister, closing a chapter that lasted nearly 2 decades. As the state awaits its next leader, the conversation is now firmly on the legacy he leaves behind, what he changed, what he could not, and how Bihar will remember his years in power. I'm Sonakshi Avasthi, and today we're focusing on Nitish Kumar's legacy. Joining me is Puneet Nicholas Yadav, political editor who has closely tracked Bihar's politics. Welcome to the podcast, Puneet.
Thank you so much.
Puneet, welcome to the live.
Yeah, can you hear me? Uh,
Yes.
yeah, okay, thanks.
All right. So, after nearly 20 years in power, Nitish Kumar is often credited with improving governance and infrastructure in Bihar. But his tenure also has seen like political shifts and criticisms. When you step a little back, what have these years meant for Nitish Kumar and Bihar?
Yeah, well, you see, 20 years as chief minister is a very long time. This is the longest tenure for a CM in Bihar. It's among the longest tenures for chief ministers, uh, you know, uh, in other states compared to, the chief ministers who've had longer tenures even in other states. So it's a very, very huge span of time. But, when you look at these 20 years of Nitish, uh, as would be the case with anyone who's reigned for so long, there are some very clear hits and some extremely obvious misses. So it's a kind of a checkered record. And Nitish is popularly called as Sushasan Babu, the man who delivered good governance. So that perhaps is a good
Right.
starting point to look at, like Nitish's tenure of the last 20 years on whether this whole thing of Sushasan Babu, the whole aura of a man who delivered good governance to the state, is itself uh, an exaggeration, or is it really true? Now, if you take it from that viewpoint, it's again, as I said, a mix of hits and misses. Because what you see is a man who inherited a state that was known for its lawlessness, the 15 years of Lalu and Rabri Devi's reign. Bihar had become infamous for law and order problems and for Gunda Raj. And it was, everyone talked about Bihar in that context of Jungle Raj, of Gunda Raj, of Lalu Yadav. So 20 years later, yes, on that score, Nitish has delivered, and he's delivered brilliantly, one would say, in terms of,
Yeah.
the perception of Bihar having become safer. Uh,
Right.
Although the crime rates, the data, and all may not suggest so, but the perception is that it is a safer state. If you go to Bihar today, it's safer to travel around the state, uh, not just for men, but also for women, which is a huge achievement. But go beyond that of, law and order. And then that is where I think Nitish's aura starts to crack a little. Because while he has done a very good job in terms of taking forward two very solid governance models that Bihar saw, one for a very brief period, one for a prolonged period, which was, the first chief minister of Bihar, Shri Krishna Sinha, or Shri Babu, as he was popularly called, who was chief minister from the time of independence till 1961, is, 14 years tenure. And imagine that in a state like Bihar, 19, a man who ceased to be chief minister in 1961, and I mean Shri Babu. In Shri Babu's case, he is still today considered the man who built modern Bihar. So, your last benchmark in that state for a man who built modern Bihar dates back to 1961. That itself for Nitish Kumar, a man who delivered good governance, is in my view, a thumbs down, because ideally one would have then said that, after Nitish, after Sri Babu, if there was someone else who took that vision of modernity, that of a modern Bihar forward, it was Nitish Kumar. But that is not the case, because while Nitish hasn't dented what all industrial infrastructure, other measures in terms of academics, etc., that were built, the foundations that were laid during Sri Krishna Sinha's tenure. Uh, Nitish has continued with that, but hasn't been able to build upon that. Similarly, Karpuri Thakur, the man who was uh, chief minister for Bihar for very short stints, but in terms of what he did for the state and its social balance, or at that point in time, social imbalance, was revolutionary. And that is again something that Nitish has only built upon, but not added any new dimensions to. So it's a very checkered legacy of some very highly publicized hits, but equally of great misses, which somehow in the last 20 years haven't got the scrutiny that they deserved.
Right. So Nitish took over as CM after, I think, what is still remembered as the jungle Raj of Lalu Yadav. Is he leaving the state as a distinctly safer place?
Yeah, so I mean, I touched upon this previously. Now, see, the thing is, I would say if I have to sum up Nitish's 20 years, I think this is the one area which can be counted as his biggest legacy, or his visible legacy. Bihar, in the period of Lalu and Rabri's tenure, and looking back, if you saw the period of uh, Karpuri Thakur, which predated Lalu by several years, Karpuri Thakur gave Bihar a sort of social equilibrium, because he brought in reforms, he brought in the reservations for the for that section of the population, which was not even part of informed discourse regarding Bihar. He made that population feel one with the state, feel included in the state. So that was a social revolution by itself. What you saw during Karpuri Thakur's term, and that is why even today uh, the name Karpuri Thakur attracts a lot of fondness in different parts of Bihar among different communities belonging to the extremely backward castes and the most backward castes, and the Dalits and the oppressed communities. Then you had the next big churn in the tenure of Lalu of 15 years, which was marked in a way by social anarchy. Lalu did a very good job in giving that same class of people, which Karpuri had brought to the mainstream, a voice. So Lalu was very good at that. The OBCs, the oppressed people, communities, the minorities felt safer to a great extent during the Lalu years. But what happened also at the same time was that you saw lawlessness emanate from within the same what was called the dominance of the Yadavs, because Lalu Yadav was a Yadav. People from his family, people from his community, almost kind of holding the state to ransom, getting their way with things, and nobody in the administration could question them. That was the narrative in the backdrop of which Nitish Kumar took over as the chief minister 20 years back, 21 years back. Now, in these 21 years, the hallmark of Nitish's tenure has been you've had no caste violence, which was very common during Lalu's tenure. You've had no communal violence, which again, Bihar was infamous for at one point in time. So, in terms of keeping the society together in terms of, that kind of a social syncretism. Bihar performed very well during Nitish's reign. At the same time, it also performed very well in making the girls, the women, the 50% of the state's population feel safer. In fact, I was reading somewhere about, how some 5 or 6 years or, 10 years back, Nitish Kumar was asked this question that, if he was to draw an image of Bihar to represent his 20 years or, his view or vision of Bihar, what would he draw? And I think his answer was a very poignant one, where he said, I would draw a girl riding a bicycle to school. You know, I think it was a very powerful image because this is what defined the 20 years of Nitish Kumar's tenure in a big way, that women felt safer to come out at any hour of the day. Girls felt safer to go to school, to go to colleges, and that gave Nitish Kumar a lot of goodwill, and in part, in a substantial part, was also responsible for him staying in power for 20 years. So, I mean, from if you ask purely from the prism of that Jungle Raj versus Sushasan narrative, this part of bringing back law and order into the state certainly is going to be one of the biggest and most enduring parts of Nitish's legacy.
Right. So taking it from here, where you said that women felt safer under Nitish Kumar's rule. So there is a view that Bihar saw improvements in roads, in law and order, and in like welfare delivery under Nitish Kumar. So, but it still lagged behind in jobs and industrial growth. So how much of this gap defines his legacy today?
Exactly, exactly, Sonakshi, and that is why I said that it's a very checkered legacy. It's a legacy where the hits have been exaggerated, but the misses have been glossed over. And what you are asking, the latter part of your question, deals with the misses that have been glossed over to allow this image of only the good happening under Nitish's tenure and not the bad. Now, as I said, he had two very solid and good models of governance to fall back on when he took over as chief minister. The model left behind or the model built by Sri Krishna Sinha, and the model of Karpuri Thakur. Nitish Kumar, in my view, did an excellent job of marrying those two models. So you saw, as you pointed out, Bihar in these 20 years get very swanky highways, buildings, infrastructure, all of that. So you had very good civic infrastructure suddenly come up, bridges being made. It's a different matter that several of those bridges also collapsed. And nobody, remembers that, but they remember the bridges being built. So that also is, part of the same legacy. But, and then he also did, as you pointed out, a lot of welfareism, which contributed to him staying in power. But at the same time, if those two things were not followed up by ensuring that, the infrastructure that was being created, whether it was for education, whether it was for, civic amenities or for industrialization, if that was not creating jobs for people from Bihar, and Bihar continued to be a state with very high levels of unemployment, that also remains part of Nitish Kumar's legacy. That cannot be glossed over. At the same time, the other aspect of welfareism, it's very good that, it's a state where he continued with, welfare politics and welfare policies. It's the delivery on many of these policies has been very good. And of course, there's towards the end of his chief ministerial tenure, or, the beginning of his new and very brief chief ministerial tenure, that tenure itself last year came riding on that 10,000 rupee dole that was given out just pre-elections to women in Bihar. Now, all of that is fine. But the point is, if after 20 years of power, you still had to rely on giving out doles to retain your vote and not giving out jobs are not making people self-sufficient, people self-reliant, as the Prime Minister keeps talking about Atmanirbhar, uh, then there was something seriously flawed in your model of governance because you did not create, you did not, go the full mile. You were governing by half measures. Now, one of the other things that has, really kind of stamped his legacy in the last 10 years now has been his policy of prohibition. And many people say that, Nitish Kumar brought in prohibition. The women were very happy about it. Yes, there is no denying that. But it's also given rise to a whole black market of alcohol, which everybody knows exists in Bihar today. So his prohibition policy has earned him a lot of plaudits, but it's also been, as prohibition has been in other parts of, anywhere else in the world, or, in India, you can look at the Gujarat model of prohibition. It's been a total failure. You've given rise to bootleggers and black marketers, and you've given rise to illicit alcohol becoming a booming industry. You had repeated hooch tragedies in Bihar under Nitish Kumar's reign. So if we are going to praise him for prohibition, we also need to ask him this question that, beyond prohibition, what did introducing prohibition, what did you do to ensure that prohibition isn't giving rise to bootlegging and illicit alcohol trade and hooch and all of that? So it's a as I said, it's governance through half measures. And while today we may all celebrate Nitish's tenure of 20 years, I don't think, and I'm saying this with a lot of responsibility, that maybe another 20 years down the line, when you have a more dispassionate appraisal of Mr. Nitish Kumar's 20 years in power, I don't think he will be judged as kindly as he's being judged today.
Right. Okay, so coming to the next question, Samrat Chaudhary is the pick for the CM. Now, he will
Yes.
inevitably be compared to Nitish Kumar. So, how big a challenge will it be to live up to the benchmarks set during his tenure?
Well, certainly it's going to be a very big challenge. You see, Mr. Samrat Chaudhary comes from a very, he, one thing, that I must say at the outset is that this is perhaps in the recent or in the last 12 years of Mr. Narendra Modi's tenure, and certainly in the last 7 or 8 years, perhaps the only time when the name that was actually being discussed as a front runner from the BJP to become chief minister has actually become the chief minister. Otherwise, it would always be some dark horse at the end of the day who would emerge, and all the names that were being discussed would be brushed aside. So in that case, I think Mr. Samrat Chaudhary has also made a history already by proving the speculations correct, which is not something we see in the BJP very often. Now, having said that, the challenges before him are immense because one, his governance is going to constantly be compared with Nitish Kumar's governance. Will he be able to deliver the same track record as Nitish? And more importantly, it's not just a question of whether he will be able to deliver, but whether the BJP, which now has its eyes set on expanding further in Bihar and making itself the number one party in the state, whether the BJP will allow Mr. Samrat Chaudhary to run the state as per the Nitish model or bring in its own model of governance. And by that, I mean whether, the politics of what we call the post-Mandal era politics of social arithmetic, social welfare, mixed with a big infusion of socialist policies and caste groups being stitched together, all of that, whether that will now take a backseat and a more communal politics will come to the fore, because that was one thing that Nitish Kumar never allowed in his 20 years. He remained in bed with the BJP. He remained their ally, barring brief stints where he did his famous somersaults. But uh, he did not let the overarching BJP politics of communal polarization define Bihar. Whether Mr. Samrat Chaudhary is able to continue in the same league or he tries to change that course by making communal polarization as the frontline thing for Bihar politics is going to be something that everyone will watch out for. Mr. Nitish Kumar, is only coming to Delhi as a Rajya Sabha member, but he keeps insisting that he is going to be a mentor to Bihar. So whether Mr. Samrat Chaudhary and whether the BJP will allow Mr. Nitish Kumar to mentor the new government is again something that we'll have to wait and see. The areas that I explained earlier, which Nitish failed to deliver on, unemployment, and that last mile connectivity of ensuring that your welfare measures are also complemented by an economic prosperity of the people that those measures are being doled out for. All of that incomplete project of Bihar will now come on Samrat Chaudhary's shoulders. And Mr. Samrat Chaudhary is not one of those hardcore, brought up in the RSS ranks BJP leader. He's done his fair share of party hopping. He used to be a part of Mr. Lalu Yadav's RJD at one point in time. In fact, when Mr. Nitish Kumar had, briefly had his dalliance with the RJD in alliance, in the Mahagathbandhan, Mr. Samrat Chaudhary had famously, worn for a long period of time what in Bihar is called a muretha, a kind of a headgear, and pledged that he is never going to, he's not going to remove that muretha till the time Mr. Nitish Kumar is not shown the door and does not lose the chair of the chief minister. So from that to then becoming deputy CM under Nitish and now becoming Nitish's successor, he has a lot of things to do. Now, whether the BJP sees Mr. Samrat Chaudhary as one of its own in the prolonged period and allows him to kind of become a kind of anchor for Bihar politics is itself a big question. Whether the BJP will destabilize him along the way, bring in somebody else the moment Nitish kind of drops the ball. That itself is a big question mark. So the challenges ahead for Mr. Samrat Chaudhary are too many to count right now.
Okay, coming to our last question, I think it goes without saying that Nitish Kumar remains a significant political figure after even like stepping down. So, what do you see his next role to be as within the alliance or his party or in like a broader national context?
Yeah, so see, that is something that I think everyone, including Mr. Nitish Kumar himself and his son, Mr. Nishant Kumar, who's his political heir in Bihar, is now, that's a question to which all of them are perhaps looking for an answer. Because while Mr. Nitish Kumar has said that he'll act as, the mentor, the margdarshak for Bihar politics and the new Bihar government, we know with the benefit of past experience that the moment somebody says margdarshak, in the BJP's ecosystem, it's not very good news. So, we've seen that happen with Mr. Advani, Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, and I mean, there are quite a few other margdarshaks who are not even, acknowledged as Margdarshaks anymore. Mr. Shantakumar, Mr. Dhumal in Himachal, the very long list. Now, Mr. Nitish Kumar, of course, is not a member of the BJP, so the same yardstick may not apply, but it, I think, becomes a little more lethal also at the same time, because the risk now is how much can Mr. Nitish Kumar push to have his say in Bihar now. He doesn't hold the reins of power anymore. He is not the chief minister. We've seen in just the last 1 year how much of ground he's had to cede to the BJP. He was not able to retain, even while he was CM, he was not able to retain the home portfolio, which the JDU in the last 20 years had always retained in government in Bihar. He was not able to have a speaker from the JDU elected to the Bihar Assembly. The BJP got a larger share of the ministerial berths in Bihar. And then, uh, you know, uh, this whole economic backwardness of Bihar under these 20 years of Nitish, there was had given way to these demands of a special status and a special package and everything for Bihar, which also Mr. Nitish Kumar could not get from the center. Now, after moving out of Bihar and losing that pedestal of power, uh, how much of it will he be able to do? How much of a push will he be able to give to his demands? He's not, as we all know, in good health, uh, and which has been in part the reason for his departure as chief minister. So that is one big challenge for him. Secondly, even to keep his party united becomes a big challenge, because we've seen the BJP gobble up outfits, break outfits, as and when it suits their politics. So while they may play footsie with Mr. Nitish Kumar as of now, the moment they think that, okay, the time is right for them to, uh, you know, uh, kind of break away people from the JDU or make the JDU a much lesser political and electoral entity in Bihar than it is today, the BJP will go for the kill. So that is what you know what might define the next phase of Mr. Nitish Kumar's political life, whether he's able to keep his party intact, whether he's able to have a say in the government in Bihar, what role he gets at the center. I'm told he's not going to be included in the union cabinet, but that's still, a speculation. So we can't say for sure. So if he is not included in the union cabinet, how does he stay on as just an ordinary MP, after having been chief minister for 20 years? So, there are a lot of those questions that will now come up. And, the next few weeks or months will tell us where Mr. Nitish Kumar is headed politically, whether it's new political innings for him. He had said that, he had always wanted to be a member of the Rajya Sabha, and he's made a record of sorts now by being one of the rare politicians who has been a member of both houses of parliament and a member of both houses of the Bihar, legislative assembly and the legislative council there. So that is fine. It's a good distinction to have. But as he enters Rajya Sabha, his new innings, whether they are going to be as stellar as the last 20 years, that's a huge question mark. So we'll have to wait and see how that happens. But for now, I guess it's going to be about who comes to power in Bihar. We know Mr. Samrat Chaudhary, but we're still waiting to hear on what is the shape of the new cabinet. What does the JDU get in that new cabinet? Then what happens to Mr. Nishant Kumar, Mr. Nitish Kumar's son? How much of a say is he left with? Is he able to emerge as, the real political heir to Mr. Nitish Kumar in Bihar politics and carry that entire block of voters that Mr. Nitish Kumar had carried for 20 years? Or whether the party will be chipped away by the BJP? What role would be played by Mr. Chirag Paswan, who has his own party, who is a Dalit leader in Bihar? is not really on very good terms with the JDU electorally, politically, socially. Uh, what happens to his ambitions of emerging as the face of Bihar? All of those things we'll know in the coming weeks and months, but we'll have to first wait and see how the new government formation takes place. That itself should, I think, give us some indicators.
I think what lies ahead for Nitish Kumar is obviously remains unsure, Margdarshak or something else. But I think his legacy for sure lives on. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Puneet, for the discussion and
Thank
having
you.
this